everyone, it's Carla. I'd really like to thank you for joining me. It's a very dreary, rainy day here, but I'm excited to bring you this journal that I worked on in March, and it wound up becoming a very personal journal for me. Originally, I was at a flea market and I picked up a little Irish linen handkerchief with shamrock embroidered on it, and I thought, well, maybe I'll make a St. Patrick's Day journal. But I really didn't think I would. I think that was in February, and I thought I've got so many journals lined up to do and in progress. That's just not something that I'm probably going to do. But around that same time, a song kind of circulated on Instagram, and it was called Irish Eyes by Rose Betts. And for some reason, I clicked on it and listened to it and just really loved the lyrics. And in the song, the woman is told that her blue eyes are Irish eyes and her brown hair is English hair. And the chorus goes, I'm a map of them all and the ones before, one foot in sea and one on shore. Every step, every hope flung high, I'm a map of them all with my Irish eyes. And I just kind of related to that. I love the ocean. I was told growing up that we were Irish, English, and Scottish. And I just thought maybe I would explore that in a journal. So this is the journal. I went looking for a digital to kind of form a base for all the other ephemera I would put in it. And I found this one by Ginger Journals. I believe it's called Erin Go Bra. And this image on the cover is one of the images from that. So most of the Irish type images that you'll see are from that kit, and I have used some digitals from the Graphics Fairy. So on the cover, this is a soft journal. It's sewn. It's semi-soft, I guess. I did get a curved spine on it, and it's just 3-hole pamphlet stitch to put it together. And I'm getting some glare from that ring light because I have got mica in here over the picture. And I really prefer using mica to acetate because it immediately warms up the picture, gives it kind of an amber or sepia look. And there are lots of little imperfections. I'm going to tilt this so hopefully you can see them, that veining and little specks. So it just automatically gives it an old look. I think you can see those variations in spite of the ring light. I've got a Tim Holtz lace frame, and then I've layered up some lace and some little fabric flowers, and of course my beloved mother of pearl buttons. These little ones here had such pretty carvings on them. So let's go inside and take a look. I've just tied it up with seam binding. Thought the color went beautiful with this flower. I just used the wide eyelets. I have an embroidered linen fabric on the inside. First spread here is one of the digitals from Ginger Journals. Some mother of pearl buttons, some vintage lace, and some tiny crocheted flowers that someone did, along with some labels. And the writing that you see there is actually a letter that I have from the 1800s that's absolutely falling apart, but it's about someone getting themselves situated in a new city. So I thought that was very appropriate for like people who've come to this country or moved about this country to be with family. And I have scanned that since it's all falling apart, and I have it on the vintage typewriter paper is what I printed it on. On this page, I've got vintage lace and a beautiful carved mother of pearl button that I recently obtained. And then this little symbol of the hands and heart and the crown that you see a lot in the, in Irish things. And I won't try to pronounce it. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. But I love that symbol. So I put it on top of this beautiful big mother of pearl button and layered up some ribbon and lace. And what I've done is I have, on my computer, I've typed out the words to the song Irish Eyes by Rose Betts, so I'll always have that on vintage onion skin typewriter paper. And it has ripped edges that I have embellished with a little gold rub. Here I have a pocket, and I just have a hummingbird. That's one of my favorite birds. I used to see them all the time at the lake. So like I said, a lot of my favorite things made their way into this. The colors and everything seemed to work so well. I found this little vintage dance card recently at the flea market, and I just love that. On the inside, she just has notations. I'm thinking maybe W was waltz and F was foxtrot, but I'm not sure. I thought the colors went so well with this pocket, which is a Graphics Fairy image, and just the idea of the green. And then this is a Graphics Fairy postcard image that I've put an authentic French stamp on. Just trim that with a little bit of vintage lace. There's a lot of lace and mother of pearl buttons in this because they are things that I love working with. On this one, I wanted to try a peekaboo pocket. I was inspired by Kathleen Mower at Be Again Books, and she makes these pockets where she layers items and then just kind of anchors them with glue in a couple places. So your piece of ephemera actually peeks through. So this is a vintage card that had the beverages and the shamrocks and the horseshoe for good luck. It's actually for New Year's Day, but I thought it went well with the colors and all of that in here. And like I said, this is not a St. Patrick's Day journal. The writing in it is very pretty. And it has a stamp that came on the postcard. And it just slips behind here so you can see it peeking through. I just have a page for lace curtains that's from one of those Sears and Roebuck reproduction catalogs. Just embellished a doily a little bit. This could be a hidden spot for journaling. Here I had these two pages facing each other, and this little cottage just looked to me like there would be some sheep wandering around in the background. And when I think of Ireland, I think of those fisherman knit sweaters. I always thought they were so beautiful. So I decided to kind of play with that theme on this page. So I have a stamp, actually it's an embossing folder that makes this cable knit design. So I inked it and put it on some blue handmade paper, gray ink, and it came out really nicely. I have a vintage stamp for this business. It was Marathon Knitting Mills. So I stamped it on some silk and added a button. And then I have another embossing folder that makes this other knit pattern. So I made a journaling card. I've got lots of little fibers and a sweet little sheep stamp, hard for me to say, that I'd never used. So I wanted to put him on there. So we have the journaling card. It is some handmade paper that has kind of that look. I believe the yarn used to be called oatmeal, where it has little flecks of color in it. And then on the back, I've got the dog that would herd the sheep. And that's kind of like a bottom tuck journaling card. Then just a little collage at the bottom of this page with some vintage lace and a label and a faux postage stamp from the Graphics Fairy. Here's the little handkerchief that I bought at the flea market that inspired it. And I made this a little tuck spot. And I have a postcard in it. I bought these years ago before I was doing any kind of paper crafting, but they were reproduction cosmetic ads on postcards. And so this one is for Royal Shamrock Soap. Thought those images went well and the colors. And then this was a little note card I found in a thrift store. And I've just put that on there as a little flip in a journaling spot with a little bit of vintage lace and a Kathy Holden sticker at the top to tie in some more flowers and kind of add to the colors. I love the graphics on that little gift tag. This boy is one of the digitals. I thought he was just so sweet. My oldest son was quite blondish when he was little, so I love this picture. He looks so serious. So I have a little Kathy Holden sticker because he looked to me like he could be about 10. And then I just did a little collage at the bottom of this page. And the opposite page is a tuck spot, so you can do some writing. I should say so I can do some writing, since this is just my journal. Some very old notebook paper. And I just have a page from a lettering book that looks kind of like Gaelic writing. The little button I thought had that feeling as well, the little gold button. And this little piece of fabric I got, I won a prize from a shopping spree at Brimfield, the giant flea market back east. And I won a package from Cloth Paper Scissors magazine. And this little snippet of fabric, just like that, was on there. And I think he looks like a little gargoyle. And I thought that might be interesting to a boy. And then we have a Reward of Merit sticker. That's Kathy Holden as well. And a vintage pen nib that I've wrapped in some embroidery floss and attached to the page. I like very dimensional elements. They make my journals very chunky and sometimes lumpy, but I'm okay with that. I really like using my vintage items in my journals. This is a China painting sheet, directions to do China painting. I picked up a big stack of these years ago at a retirement home thrift shop. Somebody obviously was into China painting, and I try to incorporate them every so often in different ways to kind of use them up. So this one, I folded it into a pocket. I did some watercoloring on the thistle. This was just all black and white. I didn't tackle this plaid. I just didn't think I had the skills for it. Didn't want to mess it up. So I left the plaid plain, but I did embellish it with a little sticker of a girl and some lace and ribbon. Excuse me. And I have 2 vintage postcards in here. This one's not in the best shape. The corner was torn off, but it does have this nice image of this couple by a waterfall, and he's in a kilt. So I thought that was perfect. And then this other one is just so beautiful. It's so metallic. And I've had to spray clear coat on it because it was just flaking like crazy. You can see there's some damage up here in the flowers. But it was just so pretty, I had to try to save it. And all of these postcards came from, the authentic postcards all came from the same thrift store, believe it or not, in the same time frame. There's the other side of the doily and that lace page. Here's another little postcard. Erin Gobra. I loved her little shoes, and I had this sticker I'd had for a million years of this shoe, and it just reminded me, my mother, who's probably the one who had the Irish and Scottish background, always wanted to tap dance, and her mother just wouldn't give her the lessons. She didn't see the value in tap dancing. But my daughter danced for a while, and tap was one of the kinds of dance that she did. So I like the idea of the little shoe. I know it's not Irish step dancing, tap dancing, that's a whole different thing, but it just kind of brings back my own personal memories into this journal. So I just embellished it. I used a couple of these gold foil doilies throughout, and I've got some very raggedy emerald green seam binding, or actually, silk, and some sparkly trim there. And I put the little number because it just reminded me in dance competitions you frequently have a number. Here I just made a little sort of like a little medallion, little ribbon. This was cut from a calendar, and this is some needlework design. And then I've got some pretty vintage lace behind it, just to add a little dimension to this page. Here I have another hummingbird image from the Graphics Fairy. I just took a plain card. I love this green design. I love the designs on the backs of the plain cards. So I just embellished it with a little ribbon and put some kind of coffee dyed looking paper on the back so it could be a journaling spot. And then this is another Graphics Fairy postcard. And I just like the way that that brought in the brown golden tones from the bird and from this. I've done another collage on this page of the cliffs and the ocean. It's a Victorian style scrap of a little boy, and I've used tickets and various Kathy Holden stickers to make that little collage, like he's maybe gonna travel to the United States. I found this little vintage calendar in a thrift haul. If you watch my thrift hauls, you might have seen it. It's from 1944. I just really like the graphics on it. It has the daffodil and bloodstone and the phases of the moon, of course, St. Patrick's Day, and then there's little fish on some days, and I'm assuming that meant it was a good day to go fishing. I don't know, but it makes for interesting graphics. And I've just attached it to this genealogy page with a paper clip and this little ribbon and pure Irish linen made in Ireland were pinned to that little hanky that I showed you that I made a tuck spot. That's exactly how it was. It just all stayed together like that. So I just put it on a paper clip to embellish this page a little bit. This is from a family history book. I've just got a little seam binding put through it to decorate it up a little bit. And I may actually do some recording of some family history on there. For this one, I wanted to try making one of those pockets where you have the wrapping paper behind it and you just kind of curl it up and around. I looked through my piano roll paper and I actually had my wild Irish rose, so I had to use that for this. It seemed too appropriate. You can see down in the corner that these are some of the perforations on the piano roll and this green wrapping paper. I'm sorry, it's not wrapping paper, it's called masking paper. You can get it in like Home Depot, those kind of stores. Painters use it for masking. It's a very thin paper. And then I've just done some little stickers and lace, just a little collage along the edge to kind of tie in with the blue. And then I have 2 more vintage postcards. Here's another one that's not in the best of shape, but I really liked it. It came kind of cut like that. I'm not sure why, but you can see how old it is on the back. And this is actually a tuck postcard, and I believe that they were quite collectible. This one's from 1915. And then we have another little Lassen costume. That may be a reproduction. Another song that had a lot of meaning to me and that has kind of an Irish feeling to me is Safe Home by an artist called John Smith. And if you go to YouTube and put in John Smith Safe Home and Rose Betts Irish Eyes, you can see videos of them playing these songs. So once again, I just typed out the lyrics on my computer. On this one, I made it an insert like you would see in old photo albums. So it could be inserted into this background on the music paper. And I've got some vintage lace used like a ribbon with a little key charm. And I've made a little moon and used some of that sparkly to make the moon kind of cast its rays. And the reason why this song means so much to me, as I first learned about it when my oldest son got married, it was a big tradition in his wife's family to play this song as the very last song at the wedding reception, because it talks about everybody coming together and celebrate and dance and music, and then to be safe home until they meet again. And it was just such a moving moment. The bride's closest bridal party gathered in a small circle, and the rest of the guests circled around in a larger circle, and everybody was just embracing and singing with the song. And it was just such a nice tradition that when my daughter got married a few years later, I said, "Would you like to do Safe Home?" And she said yes. So we did it again at her wedding reception to kind of make it a family tradition. So again, I wanted the lyrics preserved, so I've got them in here. And in the digital kit I used, there was this perfect picture of this musician, and I've done a little collage at the bottom of his page. We've got some embossed paper with the number 7, which is a significant number to me, and also happens to be a lucky number for a lot of people. And then I've got some fake money and just some little stickers. And this is actually a pocket. I've got a ticket for Cardiff. He's a traveling musician. but other things could be put in that little pocket. This is a botanical shamrock print from the Graphics Fairy. I've printed it on that onion skin paper again, typing paper, and it just makes a nice crunchy flip. And we've just got a little sticker up there. This page is a Graphics Fairy image. I do have a premium membership, so you can find some images free on their website, but a lot of mine come from the premium membership website. This little pocket with the painting items sticking out of it was an image from a book I recently thrifted, so I put that on there like a side pocket. I've put this sticker over it because I didn't really want the saying that was on it, and then I made a little botany journal to tuck inside. There are some dried flowers that I've decoupaged on there. I believe those are hydrangeas. And then I tore images from this little Wildflowers of Kansas book that I have. And I've got a stamp that makes the little swatches. So I thought this could be a little mini notebook someone could take out in the field and capture the colors of various wildflowers. That one's a wild strawberry. And that just tucks in there. On this page, it's blank for writing. It's got a lot of texture to it. But I took this page from a calendar book, a day book that I had. I thought the illustrations were just beautiful. And I love this one for March because it says at the end here, the blue fearless eyes and her fair face, and her soft voice told of her English race. So that brought in the England for me. This ribbon I've had forever, I thought went so well with this little illuminated letter here. And I took the number 7 from one of the other calendar pages and made this little label, backed it on some printed paper, and it just has a purple back so you can journal all over it. Here I have a map. I do love maps, and because of the lyrics in the song about a map of them all, I wanted to include the countries that I've talked about, and I found a perfect oversized map in one of my atlases, so I've included it, and this happens to have England here. I feel like I was in grade school in like the 60s, and I feel like we did a ton of map making. We always had colored pencils and we were making maps. So again, another personal thing for me. I always hated drawing the land because it seemed so boring to me. It was a lot of brown bumps. But the ocean, I loved making the oceans because you could use your blue and blue-green colored pencils, which were colors I liked. And the ocean always seemed to have something interesting in it, whether it was the compass rose or some sort of ship or some sort of sea serpent going in and out of the water. So this brings back a lot of memories to me too. So it just so happened that we've got England, and then on this side we've got Scotland. So I've made it into a flip, and this is a lace lighthouse that worked perfectly there. I love these colors coming out of the lighthouse. And then for the corner, this little ripped button card came exactly like that in a haul of buttons, and I decided it would make a great pocket. So I took it just as it is, other than edging inking the edges a little. I've got some gauze behind it and a little bit of a green eyelash trim. And it is a pocket, and I've got another little ticket tucked into it. And then on the back, we've got Ireland. So I've got my 3 countries and my map flip out. This was an illustration from a book on women, and I just love this painting. She looks like she's looking out at the harbor. She's got the lace curtains. I just thought that was perfect. And I've backed it with a page from an actual old ship's log that I purchased for a nautical journal. I did a little stamp on there. And then I felt like her husband probably was a ship's captain and had been to France. So he purchased these little opera glasses with the pretty little fleur-de-lis on them for her so she could better see the harbor to look for his ship when he was coming back. The opera glasses are a fabric that I recently thrifted. They do have some gold accents. What I did is I used Heat and Bond and ironed them to that, and then fussy cut them so the edges wouldn't fray. And instead of trying to iron it onto this paper, I didn't want to take any chance of scorching the book page. So I just peeled the paper backing off and just added my own glue. And then we've got some more vintage ribbon out on the side. I noticed when I was looking at images of Irish things that lilies of the valley were frequently incorporated with the shamrocks and roses and all of those sort of things. And I had this drawer liner that I'd thrifted of these lilies of the valley, so I turned it into a tuck. And lilies of the valley were something that my mother had at the home I grew up in. I planted them in my very first home in the Midwest. And when I was little, there was a song that we sang about the lily of the valley. And one of the lines is, "Don't you wish that you could hear them ring? That will only happen when the fairies sing." So I love this little image from the graphics fairy of a little fairy actually playing the little bells of the lily of the valley. So I've made a tag with lace and some little trim, various papers, some little appliques with some little gemstones. And then on the back, I've stamped it and added a little piece of vintage paper that says fairy book that came from a book. On this page, I've got another note card with that honey almond little jar that I showed you previously. This was another note card of a locket. And I've just scrunched it up a little bit. And I've just used one of my lace appliques to make a pocket. And I added this little tag to kind of help hold it in. This tag is raised up a little bit to kind of form an edge so this sits in the pocket better. This picture of this pub appealed to me in this digital kit I was using, and I just really wasn't sure why, but I thought, okay, I'm gonna put it in. And then I realized that I drive by an Irish pub named Sully's all the time, and there's just some similarities, not exactly, but I think that was in my subconscious when I was liking this picture, because Sully's just always looks inviting, and I feel like I want to meet someone there, like my daughter and her husband, which I haven't done yet, but I think that's why this appealed to me. So I went with the pub situation. I made a little coat of arms from some vintage leather swatches that I had and a piece of wallpaper that had this little coat of arms on it. And then I've made a flip here, and on this I've got a vintage almanac. This was an old blank check, and I've done some stamping. I have some letterpress signatures. I did a little hole piercing like you see on checks sometimes. I've got a label. It's a digital of a whiskey label. Actually, it's a bourbon label, sorry. And then I made this cup, and I wanted to try something different. I had a book of glassware that I purchased at the What Cheer Flea Market, and it was line drawings of different like cut glass. So at first I was just going to fussy cut it and put it on, and then I thought I wanted it to have more dimension, so I tried printing it on transparency. The ink would not dry on the transparency. So then I went to vellum, and that was okay, but still too plain. So I took glossy accents and outlined all of the cut work on the glass. And I liked that, but it was still too plain. So I took a green watercolor that I have that has a gold metallic undertone, and I painted the back side of this glass. And this was what I turned up with. So I've just made a collage on this page of all these items. And it's a flip. We have a ledger page from a business, and I've stamped it and written Sullivan's at the top. And I have a couple stickers showing computations. Just added a little tab just for fun. I've got a side tuck here. This is a card. I thrifted these fortune-telling game cards. Love this little back. And this one was with the clover and the shamrock, and said it's lucky to have those around. Found this very pretty card with clover and shamrock. 1910. You can see it's embossed. And then this is another one of those reproduction cosmetic labels on a postcard of the English clover. Thought those colors just went really lovely together. And then last I have the other side of this family history page. I've added a little bit of vintage lace that I thought looked kind of like a wedding dress. And this really pretty little rhinestone button that has that wonderful emerald green that I always associate with Ireland and Scotland. And that is my Irish Eyes journal. And I forgot to mention that on the front, I did add a little tag, and this is a family name that would go back to the either Scottish or Irish lineage. I hope you've enjoyed seeing this journal. I really want to thank you for joining me today. If you like this, I hope you'll subscribe. I welcome all comments and likes. They really help a little channel like mine grow. Thank you, and I'll see you soon.